So what are the different types of modularization techniques? Include
Include
programs,
programs,
subroutines,
subroutines,
function modules,
function modules, and
classes.
classes.
Okay. So what is
Yes, sir.
modularization?
Dividing the complex
Into
business logic
reusable
into
usable
reusable
blocks.
blocks
What are the
or
advantages of
reusable objects.
yeah? What are the advantages of modularization?
Code redundancy.
No, not code redundancy. We can avoid or we can reduce the code redundancy,
Yes, sir,
right?
redundancies.
We are
Yes,
not
sir.
going to achieve code redundancy. We are going to remove code redundancy.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
we can avoid code
Yes, sir.
redundancy and we can also
And maintaining
maintain the source code in a easy
source
way.
code.
Okay, okay, that is the another advantage. So in many projects in recent days, what's happening is, so in a project there will be senior developers and junior developers, right? So what they'll do, the senior developers will design a class with all the complex business logic. Okay, so whatever the logic you have to build, that senior developer or a team lead will design a class method or different class methods with that complex business logic, right? By working with the functional consultants and the clients, he will gather the requirement and design that business requirement. So what they'll ask for the junior developers or entry level developers, they'll ask them to use the already developed class methods to create the programs. Okay, what these junior developers will do, they'll just create a program, report program, by defining some internal tables, by calling these class methods and generating the output in ALV format. Okay, they don't need to
Was it
that.
not clearly working some disturbance?
Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what the junior developers will do, they'll just call those class methods which are already developed by senior consultants. They don't need to worry about the business logic, right? They can just call those methods and create their programs. What they need to do, they need to pass the inputs to those class methods and it will return the output. So whatever the output, they can display it in a report format, right? In many projects that will happen. Okay, so the senior developers will already create a class method or a function module with this complex business logic, so that rest of the developers can use that class method or function module whenever they need a requirement. Okay, they can just pass the inputs and return the outputs. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Although we have three or four modulation techniques, in recent days, in recent days, in every project, most of them are using class methods to modularize the program. Clear? Because the rest of the approaches are depends on the procedural oriented programming, not object oriented programming, right? So to achieve certain features of object oriented programming, in most of the projects they are using class methods to modularize the program. Okay,
Yes, sir.
but rest of the concepts also important, we still use them: function modules, subroutines and include programs. Okay, so let's see one by one in a practical way how we use include program. First we'll see include program. What is the include program?
Include program is independent program. It cannot take inputs and as well as it returns. It does not returns output. It is a dependent for executable program.
Yes. So include program cannot be executed independently, cannot be executed independently. So we can use include program in a executable program, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's create one program.
Sir, one question can I ask you?
Yes,
Sir, in the type of ప్రోగ్రాంలో ఎగ్జిక్యూటబుల్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ మనం సెర్చ్ చేస్తున్నాం కదా సార్,
yes.
అక్కడ వీ కెన్ ఫైండ్ ఇంక్లూడ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ క్లాసెస్ సబ్ రూటీన్స్, those only sir we modularization techniques.
No, let me show you. Okay,
Okay sir.
type executable program, click on save, local object. So I'm creating a program to select some required fields from maybe EKKO table. Okay, with the input of selection screen as created date.
Okay sir. And type AED8, select options S1 program not given with the frame title.
Use frame.
Okay sir. End of selection sir. Selections.
Between we'll use define on select option.
LB underscore T.
Initialization.
At selection screen. Start of selection and end of selection.
Okay. So in initialization, what are we doing? We are populating the default date, right?
Yes sir.
Whenever
Yes.
required.
Supported Hyperlog system nodes S1 underscore T. High. System data.
Spell mistake in
Smart.
high.
Sir, HAGH. Science. Include. S1 is coded. Option. Split between. Append. S1 is coded.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Extraction screen will use some validation. That is, there should be some date.
S1 is
It is initial. Initial means if it is empty.
message. Text.
Use text symbols. I'm using hard-coded text. You
Yes,
guys
sir.
use the text symbols.
Type E.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Select the data.
At the rate of LT underscore. Where E data.
We are using AEDAT, right, as input.
Yes, sir. In S1 at the rate of S1 underscore date.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Continuous.
So here we have a initialization event, right? Where we are populating the date. So we'll modularize this. We'll modularize using include program. How can you create an include program? Using include and provide the name. Always try to provide the name similar to this. Okay. Double click on it. Is this program available? No, we are creating newly. Okay. We are creating the include program. Create it. Yes. What is the type of the program? It is automatically selected.
Include program.
Include program. Click on save. So an include program got created. Go back, and I am removing this logic here. I'm keeping that default date population logic in a include program. Okay, go back. So our logic is in now this include program, right? Sometimes we used to define different data types, variables, selection screen parameters, everything, right? So for this, we are going to create one separate include program. Without keeping everything in the main program, we'll create one include program for these data declarations, like internal tables, work areas, variables, whatever. Okay. How can you create? Include,
Include.
provide the program name. So this we called as top include. Generally, we call it as top include, where we just provide underscore top. So this include we can use to keep all the data declarations like variables, work areas, etc. So for include programs, you cannot pass any input. There is no importing parameters for include program. Clear? We can just implement a code, whatever we want to reuse. I'm keeping all this inside this include program. Create it. We are creating here itself. We are creating an include program from an executable program, right? Paste here and activate. I'm activating the include program. Include program also should be in active mode to use it. Go back. Now my all the global declarations or all the parameters and variables are in this include program, right? Let's execute the program. Faint. So this is the data. Now let's assume we have a very similar requirement in another program. We have a very similar requirement in another program where we need to select data from EKKO table with the help of the same importing parameter, that is date, where we need to populate default values in that field also, right? What we need to do? Let's create one more program, a separate program. Or you can also keep this business logic in a separate include program. Underscore, for example, data. Save. Okay, activate this. Go back. So I've created three different include programs and using it in a executable program, right? Where I created these include programs in one executable program, right?
Yes.
This is a executable. I created one executable program, and inside that executable program, I am using some include programs. Okay. Now let's
Yes.
create one more program. Go to SC38. Mm, I'll name it include program 2. So here I have a similar requirement. This is create one include executable program. Type of the program is executable program, local object. Now I have a very similar requirement. I'm using date in the selection screen input. Okay, I'm using date as a select option in my selection screen in a different program. So do I need to create everything again? You don't need to
No, sir.
create everything again. Just include. What is the program that we already created?
Set it.
So here we have select option, right? The variable.
Yes.
Just copy this program and include here using include statement. Include the program name. Activate and check what it will display. F8. The selection screen is visible. Okay, we are reusing the selection screen. Again, we will reuse the default date population logic instead of writing everything, right?
Yes, sir. Include.
Include what is that program we have already created for that purpose? Default date.
Center. Default.
So copy this program and just include in the second program. That's it. For example, let's say we have a similar, see, it won't happen in real time, but I'm just telling you, we don't create exact program multiple times, but I'm just showing you how can you reuse the existing include programs. Okay. So in the startup selection, data selection, for data selection, just use the include program. Okay. And just use, sorry, it should be in startup selection. Whatever the internal table we are using in include program. So activate the program, main program. The main program is executable program. Please remember the main program. This is executable program, and inside this executable program, we are using include programs. Okay, so that you can execute whatever the logic inside the executable program. So this is my selection screen. It is automatically populating the default values, right? Did I write the append logic here?
In this program,
I
includes.
just included. I'm just using the include program. I did not implement that logic again,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
I'm just reusing here. So like this, you can reuse the include programs. For example, if there is any reusable code, please keep that in a include program and reuse it in multiple programs. Okay, whenever you need the similar requirement. Clear?
Yes, sir.
This is about include programs. So here we are using one or two lines of code inside the include programs, but in general there might be more code. In real-time projects, we might use multiple select statements or many top declarations like variables, work areas, etc. Okay, the process is same. Clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, include is a keyword, sir.
Yeah, include is the keyword. Include and the include program name. Okay.
We can write any name of
Yeah,
the program, sir.
any name, but please provide some meaningful name. Okay,
Okay, sir.
and that
Okay,
should
sir.
starts with Z or Y.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and there is some length limitation also. You cannot give any length. Okay, there is some length
Okay, sir.
limitation in the name. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so is it clear for everyone? Include programs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll go to the next modularization technique, that is function modules. Okay, first let's see what is a function module. A function module is a modularization technique. Okay, function module can accept the input and return the output. Okay, here we create a function module inside a function group. To create a function module, function group is required. A function group is required. Okay, so what is a function group?
Collection of functions.
Collection of relevant function modules. For example, all sales related function modules are going to be in a one function group. All
Sales group.
finance related function modules we are going to keep in a one function group. All material management related function modules we are going to keep in a separate function group. So this function group acts as a main program. So this function group acts as the main program for all these function modules. Okay, which are stored under that function group. So function group is like this. So this is a function group. Inside this function group, we have different function modules. So these are some relevant function module, maybe related to one particular module. Okay, a group of function modules. So these are the modules inside a function group. What these function modules will do? It will share the global declarations of the master table, or function group acts as a master program for all these function modules. To create a function modules, what is mandatory?
Function group.
Function group is
Function
mandatory.
group.
The first step in creating a custom function module is creating a function group. There will be lot of standard function modules provided by SAP. Okay, SAP has provided many standard function modules. So what is the transaction code to open the function modules? SC37. SC37 is the transaction code to work with the function modules. To create the function modules, to change or to delete the function modules, SC37 is the T code. Okay, we'll check some standard function modules.
Sir, can you please repeat function group acts as a master of?
Sorry, what is it?
Function group acts as a master of. What the masters?
No,
So you told that function group acts as a master for.
right? Yes, function group acts as a master program for the function modules, right?
Yes, yes. Yes.
So what do you want to see?
I mean, after master, I didn't hear, sir. What is God for master?
Okay,
And
okay,
master.
okay.
Okay, sir. Now, please.
Yeah. For example, open any standard function module. These are all standard function modules. Okay. Display. You cannot change the standard function module. You can just use it. Okay. So here we have different parameters. That is attributes. Function module attribute. Go to the function module attribute. What you can find here? In function module attribute, you can find the function group.
Function group.
What is the function group? This function module is related to. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the short description and details like who created, when it is last changed, who changed it, and the package name, right?
Yes.
So this is the program which is generated for this function group. Okay. Now come to types. There are three types of function modules. It's a very important interview question about the function group and about the types of function modules. These are very important interview questions. What are the different types of function modules? Regular function module, remote enabled function module, and update function module. What are the different types? Regular function
Regular
module,
function module.
remote
Remote
enabled,
enabled
we can
module.
also call RFC. These remote enabled function modules we can also call RFC function modules. Regular function modules, remote enabled function modules, and update function modules. These three are the different types of function modules. Okay. What is a function group?
It's a collection of function
Collection of
modules.
relevant function
Relevant
modules.
function modules.
It acts as the master program for all these
Master.
relevant function modules. Okay. So what are the types of the function modules?
Regular function module,
Remote
remote
enabled
enabled function
and
module,
update
and
function
update
module.
function module.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
regular function module. So I'll give you some basic details. So regular function modules, you can use the function module within the same system wherever you have created. For example, if you created that function module is in 2022, you can use in the same server. But when it comes to remote enabled function module, you can use this function module in another SAP system. For example, S4HANA 2020. You can call this function module in another system also, another SAP system also. Okay. But
Sir, is there any link ఉందా సార్? ఐ మీన్ ఇక్కడ యూస్ చేసిన ఫంక్షన్ మాడ్యూల్ నేమ్ యూస్ చేస్తే సరిపోతుందా సార్, లేకపోతే సర్వర్ టు సర్వర్ కనెక్షన్ ఇస్ దేర్?
yeah, we'll discuss those in detail. Okay, about the connections and all. So first I'll
Okay,
give you
sir.
some basic details. Okay, before.
Okay, sir.
So once we are able to create the function modules, and we'll see those remote enabled calls. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So that's about attributes. Go to import. What do you mean by import? Import is nothing but inputs. What are the inputs we need to pass to this function module? Right? These are the imports. This is naming convention. You can use any name. Here they used I underscore bookers because it is importing parameter, right? To identify it as an importing parameter, they just use I underscore bookers. That is company code. Type bookers is the data element. They defined one input. User, another input. Program name, another input. So is it a single value input or work area like input? So we just need to pass the bookers value for this input. For example, company code number. For example, if you take this, so most of them are single value inputs only here because all of them are defined with data elements, right? Not the structures, right?
Yes, sir.
All these are data elements, type data elements. That means these are single value inputs like variable like inputs. We can pass the variable value. For example, if you find a structure or a table name here, for example, here they used EKKO. Then what is the data we have to pass for this importing parameter? A work area like structure with the type of EKKO. Okay, that work area like structure can contain multiple fields. If they define importing parameter using data element, that means this is a single value input. Okay, if we define they define this importing parameter with the structure name or a table name, what does that mean? That is not a single value input, that is a work area like input which contain multiple field values. That is complete record we have to pass. Okay, so in importing
Okay,
parameter
sir.
we provide inputs to the function module.
Sir, in
Exporting,
importing parameter, can we have the any length, sir? For parameters, it's up to 8 characters.
no,
Let us
don't compare
let
with the program parameters. Don't compare with the program parameters. Here there is no such restriction. Okay,
okay.
this is function module importing parameter. Okay, to pass the inputs to the function module. Export will return the output. Okay, export in exporting parameters we return the output like it is the output of the function module. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Changing changing is acts like both import and export. It is combination of import parameter and export parameter. We can pass some value through changing parameter and we can return the updated value. Okay,
Yes, sir.
we can pass it as an input and we can return also the output. It acts as both the importing and exporting parameter. Clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That is changing parameter. Next, tables. Tables is to define internal table like structures. We can pass the internal table data or return the internal table data as output using tables parameter. Here we deals with the internal table like structures. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So exceptions are used to return the errors. Whatever the errors inside the function modules, we return the errors in the form of exceptions. Okay, these exceptions will be catched by subrc. For example, if you define exceptions here three exceptions are there, right? No authority,
Yes.
program, no authority, date, wrong parameter. So if the first exception is raised due to some error after function module call, the subrc equal to 1. If second exception is raised, subrc equal to 2. If third exception is raised, raised sub RC equal to 3, right? What is the use of exceptions?
Return the
To
To handle
handle
the errors in the function module. To
errors.
handle the errors in the function module. How can you capture the errors? Using sub RC, SY sub RC we
using
have.
suburbs, SY suburbs. So it means we have to, like, how can we handle errors? Mean
How are you handling errors in the program? If select statement is not successful,
debugging through debugging.
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 Are we handling the errors through debugging? If sub RC is not equal to 0, we are displaying some error message, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Like that only. I'll show you. So come to source code. Here you can see all the function module importing and exporting parameters. These are all the importing parameters. That means inputs. So this is the output. That is exporting parameter. We don't have changing and tables for this particular function module. These are
And
the
others.
exceptions. These are the normal ABAP code only. Whatever we write in the program, same ABAP code only we need to implement here. Nothing different. Clear? So we take importing parameters as inputs and we return the data to exporting parameter. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So what is importing parameter?
Importing parameters
Provide
inputs
Inputs of a function module. Exporting
function module
returns the
returns the
output.
returns to
output
the
of the function
outputs.
module. Changing
Access
Both
both
the
import and
combination of
export.
important and
importing and
exports.
exporting parameter. It can accept the input and return the output. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So tables,
Use it for defining internal tables.
internal table like data, internal table like structures, like to pass the internal table data as input and return the internal table data as output. Then more than one record. Okay. More than one
Yes, sir.
record.
Yes, sir.
So exceptions.
Are to handle the errors.
Exceptions are used to handle the errors inside the function module. We can capture the
Yes,
exception using a subrc
System
variable.
servers.
Source
as
code,
well as
here we write the
consoles.
code based on the importing parameters and return the data to exporting parameter. Clear?
Yes.
Let's create one function module. So if a function group is already created and if the function group is already available, you don't need to worry about the function group. You don't need to create it again. You can just reuse the function group name. Okay? But if the function group
Yes,
is
sir.
not available, first create the function group and then create the function module.
How can we check, sir? Is that available or not?
Yeah. So we are in SC37.
Yes, sir.
We are in SC37 function module. Here, go to function groups. In go to menu, we have function groups. If you want to check the existing function group, display group and enter the group name, function group name if you remember it. Or otherwise, search for the existing function groups. So these are all the existing function groups. Okay,
Yes, sir.
display. So this is the function group. It is in active mode. So you
Yes,
can
sir.
use this function group to create the function modules. Clear?
Yes, sir.
For example, copy this function group, go to SC80. SC80 is the object navigator where you can check all the objects, all the different types of objects. Here in the instead of program, select a function group. Enter the function group name. For example, ZSTU underscore NFO is the function group. Inside the function group, what you can find? Function modules.
Function modules.
take different function group. What you can find inside this function group? Different set of function modules.
Functions.
Okay,
Modules.
not
Yes,
only
sir.
function modules, function group contains many other objects. But when we are working on the function modules, we use function group to create the function module. We assign a function group for each function module. Okay.
So,
Now let's see how to create a group if it is not available. Uh, Go to function groups, create function group, provide the name zdemo underscore group. So provide the description. For some function group. Okay, save it. These are very important steps to be remembered. Okay, please make a note of steps to create a function group.
yes, sir.
Yeah, our function group is created. What is it? Zdemo group, right?
Yes, sir.
Zdemo group. Go to function group. Go to function groups and display group.
See,
Display. Is it active or inactive?
inactive, sir.
Inactive, right? First we have to
Inactive.
activate this. First we have to activate this function group. We can simply do it in SC80. We have another alternative also. Copy this function group and go to SC80. Select the function group name here. Select the function group and enter the function group name. Enter, click on enter and click on enter. You can see this. Right click on this. Right click on the function group and click on activate. So the function group is activated. Now go and check here. Display group. So is it active or inactive?
Activate.
Activated, right? Otherwise,
Activated.
the other alternative to activate the function group is go to function group, display group, enter the function group name, continue. Let's assume this is inactive. Go to master program, click on master program and activate this master program. Okay, it will be
Okay, sir.
activated. Let me do. I'm using some pretty printer. Activate the master program.
That's why we called as function group as master.
Yeah. So all your function modules will be maintained here in this master program. Whatever the function modules you assign to this function group, all these will be maintained here in the function group. Okay. So this function group have top declarations, global declarations. It's just like internal tables and work area like structures. So all the global declarations will be accessible to the function modules. Whatever the function modules you assign to this function group. Okay. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one question. Global declarations contains only Parameters internal
See,
tables.
in top you can find all the global declarations. Whatever you defined inside a function module or inside a importing parameters. Okay, I'll show you once we create the function module, you can observe the difference.
Okay, sir.
Is there any code here? No, right? So this is the
Yes.
master program. Now go and create a function module. Now go to SC37. So we still in the same T code anyway. So
Yes,
we'll
sir.
create one function module. Z demo underscore or Z FM underscore. Add two numbers. This is my function module. Okay. Create the function module. So what are the mandatory inputs here?
Function
Function
group.
group
Function group.
and short description.
Yes. Addition of two numbers.
Continue. It will show this warning. Click on continue. Now what do we have here? Go to attributes. Go to
Attributes.
attributes. So what is the type of the function
Regular.
module? So this
Regular
is
Regular
function.
function.
regular function module only. This is not remote function call or update function call. This is normal function module only. Okay. Then so in attributes you can find the details like who created this and when it is being created and what is the function group name. Now go to import parameter. What is importing parameter?
Creating
Inputs of
input.
the
Inputs of the function module. To add the two numbers,
function.
we need to pass the two numbers, right, as input. For
Yes.
example, I'll
Yes.
take im underscore number one type data
Input.
element. You can use any data element or type I. What is I?
Integers.
Integer, right? So here,
Yes.
if you want to pass any default value as input, you can pass like this as a default value here. Enter the default value. Okay.
Yes.
Here we have option called, is it optional parameter or mandatory?
Mandatory, sir.
If
Because
it is optional parameter, please select this checkbox as optional. Okay.
yes, sir.
Yeah, without using like without passing the numbers, we cannot calculate the value, right? That's why it is mandatory.
Yes, sir.
Number two, type
Center.
I. So these are my inputs of the function module. Type integer. Okay. You can also use data elements here, or data elements, structures, or table names, whatever. Okay. Depends on the importing parameter type. You have to pass the input inside your calling program. Now my inputs are ready. Go to export. What is the output?
Adding two
E
numbers.
underscore sum. I'm using like this. Type I. That is also
I.
integer. Okay.
Yes, sir. Output.
Changing. I'm not using any changing and tables for now. I'll use exceptions. For
Okay, sir.
example, user did not pass the value. User did not pass the value to any one parameter, importing parameter. Then I'll raise the exception. Uh, for example, like I'll enter name like I'll use this exception enter input. Okay. Anyway, this is also optional. This is not mandatory. Anyway, we'll see exceptions later. Go to source code. We have importing parameter and exporting parameter. Now write the logic. What is the logic? E underscore sum equal
Sum
to
is equal to
m
IM
underscore
underscore
Number one,
number
plus
plus
I am
IM underscore number 2.
you can define work areas, you can define internal tables, you can write select statements, you can write loop statements, whatever you want to do you can do here. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Inside this function and end function, the last statement should be end function. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now activate the function module.
No syntax errors.
Test the function module. How can we test the function module? Execute or click on F8 or test execute. This is to test the function module. Okay. Okay. Here these two are the inputs, right? Number one, enter 10, 20 and click on execute. What is the output?
30.
30. 30 is the output. For example, don't pass anything. Click on execute. Since it is a mandatory value, it is expecting you to enter the value. Okay. Otherwise, the function module won't work without entering the mandatory value. Right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, our function module is ready. Where are we going to use this function module? Are we going to execute this independently? So we use this function module inside the programs or inside another function
Yes.
modules. For let's create a program. C demo. Add two numbers. Create the program.
Sir, we can also call the functions inside the function
Yes,
inside the functions also, right, sir?
yes. So only new concept you have to learn here is creating the function group and activating the function group and defining importing and exporting parameters. That's it. Source code is same, right? Whatever you used in your normal ABAP programs. Nothing new. Clear?
Yes, sir.
It is so slow. So in these days, if there is any new requirement to modularize the in our data or to modularize the logic, most of the times we are creating class methods. Okay, we are creating function modules very rarely. So there are different types of function modules like RFCs. For those types of requirements only, we are creating function modules. Okay, most of the times in these days, preferring class methods in all the projects. Okay, because function modules follows procedural oriented programming and class methods follows object oriented programming.
Object.
Type as executable program, save. Okay, it is slow, so slow today. Okay, so what is this program for? Adding two numbers, right? We need inputs for this program too. That is p underscore number one, because to accept the input in the selection screen, type I, type I. So we can ideally we need one variable to display the output, right? Or you can also take it as a inline declaration.
Sir, same parameters you
Yeah, we'll change.
can
Yeah, we'll change the name.
change.
Okay.
Okay.
You can call in any event. Depends on the requirement. Okay. There is no rule that the function module should be called in startup selection. Okay. You can call in initialization at selection screen or whatever the event depends on your requirement. Okay. So how will we, for example, without using function module, how can you do that? LV underscore output
Is equal
equal to p underscore
P underscore
number
underscore
one plus
plus P underscore
number two.
number two underscore output plus LV underscore display LV underscore output.
Okay. This is how we
So,
do without using modularizing or modularization technique. So here we just take one line of code, but in general in projects there would be around hundreds of lines of code inside a function module. Okay, that is the business logic. Execute 10, enter 20. So this will display the output by calculating the number one and number two. For example, this I want to modularize. I want to reuse it. I want to make it as a reusable code. I already did that in the form of function module, right?
Yes, sir.
Call this function module. How to call a function module? Place the cursor wherever you want to place the function module. Place the cursor here and go to pattern, or Control F6 is the shortcut. Click on pattern. Here, function module name, provide function module name. Click on continue. So this is the function module we called. Pass the input 1, that is im underscore number 1. Input 2, that is number 2. See, if you observe here, whatever the importing parameters we defined in the function modules, those here displaying as a exporting parameter. The exporting parameters are displaying as importing parameter, right? Please observe the difference and don't confuse. Uncomment this, uncomment this, and provide the
NB underscore output.
here.
Yes, sir. Importing and exporting.
That's it. The very important rule is what is the type of this im underscore number 1 in the function module?
I.
Integer, right?
Integer.
The
Yes, sir.
in the calling program, whatever the variable or work parameter you are passing to this importing parameter, right, should be of same type. It should not be a different type. Please remember that. Okay,
Yes.
that should contain same data type or data element, whatever. This is also exporting parameter type also should be same. Okay, then execute the
Yes,
program.
sir.
F8. So output is here. Now this function module can be called in any number of programs. Okay, you can call this function module in any number of programs whenever you need a same requirement. Add two numbers. This might be a variable. You can also pass variables here. This, okay. You don't need to pass only parameters. You can also pass variable values also. Otherwise, you can pass values like that. Hard coded values also you can pass. Okay.
Yes.
So you can reuse the same function module in anywhere within the same system. Okay. So is this clear for everyone? How to call a function module in the program? Go to pattern, enter the uh, uh, function module name, click on continue. So I told you, right, you should pass the same type. Always you should pass the same type of value. For example, I am changing it to number. Let's see what will happen. I'm changing this p underscore number type to number, not integer. Now execute it. What happened?
Error.
There is a system exception. There is a system exception. Whenever you see this system exception, please observe
Go
the
to source.
message. Please observe the message. What it is saying, what happened. So the current ABAP program has to be terminated because it's found a statement that could not be executed. A function module was called incorrectly. Then go to error analysis. What it is saying? An exception has occurred in the class as the exception was not caught. What it is saying? The call to the function module z add two numbers is incorrect. The function module interface was defined in such a way that only fields or particular type can be specified under im underscore number 1. The field im underscore number 1 specified here is a different type. So you are defining IM underscore number one is a different type and you are passing a different type in parameter. That's why it is failed. Go to source code extract. It will show you the exact line. This error bar. Here it is failing.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Change it. I. Okay. Okay. Clear.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So what are the interview questions from this function modules and modularization techniques? So we have already discussed the interview questions and moderation techniques. We'll discuss on the function module. The very important interview question is about function group. What is a function group? A function group is a collection of function modules, relevant function modules. Function
Yes.
group acts as a global declarations or function groups provide the global declarations for the all function modules. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you know how to create a function group in SE37. Go to function groups, create function group, provide the function group name and go to SE80, enter the function group name and activate the function group name by right click on the function group. Otherwise, open function
Go
group
to
in SE37 in display function group, enter the function group name, display, and then it will display a pop-up. Click on the master program and activate the master program and all the programs inside that master program. Okay.
yes, sir.
Then create the function module. You can use the function group.
In SC30.
Yeah. The other interview question is what are the different types of function modules?
Function.
That is normal function module or regular. Normal or regular. In ECC, the option is normal. Here it is showing regular. Both are same. Okay. So
Okay, sir.
regular function module, RFC function module, or remote
RFC.
enabled function module, remote enabled function module, or update task function module.
Updated
These three
function
are the
module.
different types of function modules. Okay. How can you capture
Yes,
the
sir.
errors in a function module?
System.
Using exceptions. Using exceptions, we can capture the errors in a function module. Okay. How can you know what is the exception that is raised? That is depends on the sub RC value. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We can capture the exception using sub RC value. So these are the few important interview question. Also they'll ask what can you find in a function module interface? What are the options available in a function module interface? What is your answer? What are the
At
different
info
options?
types.
Importing
Attributes
parameters,
import.
Importing parameters,
exporting
exporting,
parameters,
Exporting.
changing,
Changing.
changing,
Tables.
tables,
exceptions,
Exceptions and
exceptions,
and
source
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 code.
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 These are the options available in function module interface. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. These are some of interview questions. Mandatorily ask most of the times you can like they'll ask at least one question from these three or four questions. Okay.
Okay, sir.